Some say, if you want to see the future of America, look at the major cities in this country. So, what if we choose San Francisco in 2025 to look at? Utter turmoil, chaos, emptiness, and despair. These are the first words that come to mind when people mention San Francisco. Walking through the central streets, instead of feeling the vibrant life, people are confronted with haunting images. Hundreds of makeshift tents stretching out, unsteady gates, lifeless eyes, and a silence as if this place has been completely abandoned. San Francisco in 2025 not only faces the burden of homelessness, but also a crisis of trust, a security crisis, and the exodus of both businesses and residents. Can the city, once hailed as the symbol of the American dream, find its light again? Or will it continue to sink deeper into darkness? In today's video, we'll explore the dark corners enveloping San Francisco, from widespread homelessness and deserted streets to the chaos that even the police are wary of entering. Are you ready yet? Let's get started.
The tenderloin.
Does this scene look familiar to you? Don't be quick to think you're watching the wrong footage from Kensington, Philadelphia. In fact, this is San Francisco, where people struggle in a hunched-over posture, remaining motionless for hours, swaying like soulless shadows. They are not actors in a horror movie, but real-life victims, disfigured by a substance that can turn a person into a zombie after just a few uses. Instead of the glittering footage of the Golden Gate Bridge bathed in the sunset's glow, or the entrepreneurial dreams that have become the city's brand, this is the true face of what's happening right now. Stepping into San Francisco in 2025, many might be surprised. This place no longer resembles a powerful United States, but rather a hidden corner of the third world amidst the bustling city, where chaos and despair cast a shadow over every street corner. Just go down Willow Street, a narrow one-way street, and you'll see a hotspot that has persisted for many years. Residents here are constantly reporting illegal transactions, public urination, and people struggling in plain sight. However, that cry for help seemed to fall on deaf ears.
What's it like living here?
Lawless. Completely lawless. This is anarchy.
The lawlessness that was once confined to isolated areas like Slab City has now spread directly into the heart of San Francisco. It's no coincidence that this place is nicknamed the Walmart of Vices, as this merchandise, dangerous to human health, is openly sold and even easier to buy than candy. And what's even more frightening, the users aren't just the homeless. Sometimes, these are faces that once had stable jobs and lived ordinary lives. But just one wrong choice was enough to plunge them into a downward spiral. According to the latest data released by the San Francisco Chronicle for 2025, the consequences of this pandemic have not only not diminished, but are showing signs of resurgence. The epicenter of the crisis is concentrated in the Tenderloin and south of Market, neighborhoods that already bear a heavy social burden. Residents here not only have to live amidst a decaying urban landscape, but are also forced to reinforce their homes themselves. Many people had to install bars on their back doors after a series of break-ins. A person living in an apartment shared, "My neighbor has reported it many times. I also call the police almost every day, but all we got in return was silence." They picked up the phone, made promises, and then closed the file without doing anything. And that's not all. San Francisco is not only grappling with a crisis of vice, but the city also bears one of the highest rates of serious crime in the United States, with a 1 in 142 chance of someone becoming a victim. Even more frightening, this rate persists even when the city is under heavy security surveillance. Property crimes, from petty theft, burglary, and arson to motor vehicle theft, are frequent, with a 1 in 18 chance of someone becoming a victim. Motor vehicle theft, in particular, is especially active and leaves serious consequences. Many residents who stop at Walmart or Costco have to leave a large note on their car window, writing that there is nothing valuable inside, just to beg thieves not to break the window to steal their belongings. This vice has also spread to shopping malls. Smash and grab incidents that once shocked Union Square or the Bay Area, where groups of people used hammers to smash display windows at Louis Vuitton, Yves Saint Laurent, or Burberry, and then fled within minutes. At one point, the total damage was estimated to be over $1 million. It doesn't stop at high-end airlines. In April 2024, another shocking incident occurred. A group of people brazenly ransacked the Walgreens in Civic Center in broad daylight, leaving employees and customers stunned. There was an incident in February 2025 where Safeway in the Fillmore district was forced to close its Webster Street branch. The reason is the constant theft, which causes the store to lose an average of about $7,000 per day. These events not only reflect a San Francisco entering a state of red alert lawlessness, but also directly erode the daily lives of residents who simply hope to find safety in their own city. If even cities that were once symbols of freedom and prosperity become ghost towns, what can we still put our faith in? And if one day our children and grandchildren have to grow up in such a city, will they still believe in the American dream that previous generations believed in? The vices of a city are not limited to crime or a toxic epidemic, but are most clearly exposed through the plight of the homeless, a tragedy that is creeping into the heart of San Francisco. This is a bitter paradox. A city with a technology economy worth hundreds of billions of dollars, yet it cannot protect thousands of its residents from being homeless. After decades of grappling with the homelessness problem, by 2025, San Francisco is still among the top 10 cities in the United States with the largest number of homeless people. According to USA Facts, the total number of homeless people in the city has reached approximately 8,323, with over 4,300 living outdoors, in tents, RVs, or directly on the sidewalks. With a population of only about 875,000 people, that means 1 in every 60 residents is homeless. This isn't a far-fetched number. It's a wake-up call that anyone, from workers and teachers to office employees, can fall into this spiral of despair after just one small event. The situation worsened as home evictions increased by 30%, forcing thousands of families out of their homes, which were their last resort. And homelessness, contrary to stereotypes, is not just for the lazy or incompetent. It is now the result of a chain of overlapping reasons, where anyone can become a victim. There are people who leave home to escape family conflicts but don't find a support system strong enough to start their lives over. There are gig workers, symbols of the San Francisco economy, who are the first to lose their jobs when the market falters. There are also mentally ill patients or those dependent on dangerous products who are not treated, while the city only has 12 community health centers for low-income residents, which is far too few for the urgent need. Not only do the homeless have to struggle with the harsh realities of life in temporary shelters or on the streets, but they also have to find ways to live with societal prejudice and the cold stares of the very community around them. They are often seen as an ugly blemish that breaks the arrow of growth on San Francisco's prosperity map. However, few realize that their lives are also being blocked by a series of consecutive events, leaving them unable to find a way out of the cycle of despair. A man who was once homeless recalls, "I lived on the streets in the late 60s and early 70s. My friends and I slept in the park. No tents, no trash. Everything I own is packed in a backpack. We're not trying to cause trouble for anyone. We're just trying to survive too." That sharing shows that homelessness is not a choice, but a precariousness that can befall anyone. All these factors intertwine, creating a web of system failures. Just one small event, a medical debt, a job loss, a family crisis, and an individual or an entire family can lose their housing, sometimes never to recover. The city government has spent heavily. In the 2024 to 2025 fiscal year alone, over $846 million, was allocated to expand temporary shelter beds, build supportive housing, and implement the tent reduction policy. But those efforts have sparked controversy. Is it a long-term solution, or just criminalizing homelessness? Many observers have likened it to carrying water to the sea. The more that is spent, the number of people who are homeless continues to increase. San Francisco today, therefore, appears not only as a city illuminated by technology and luxurious billboards. It's also a bitter reflection, where tent cities sprawl in the heart of the city, and the desperation of thousands becomes a burning question about the future of the American dream. If even one of America's wealthiest cities can't keep a roof over the heads of its most vulnerable residents, what does the American dream mean for the rest of the country? And if that fragility can strike anyone after just a small event, will future generations still dare to believe that America is the land of opportunity? Or will it only be a place of fear of loss? There are hidden corners in San Francisco that even law enforcement is wary of entering. These were narrow, dark neighborhoods where tents were packed tightly together, trash was strewn every place, and people wandered about like figures in a nightmare. Many residents call them no-go zones, areas where the government's presence seems to have disappeared. Even police cars sometimes just drive past and turn away, leaving behind uncontrollable chaos. Prominent hotspots that are often mentioned include the Tenderloin district and the streets surrounding South of Market. Here, for many years, residents have reported illegal transactions taking place in broad daylight, shouting and arguments echoing at night, and behaviors that make them no longer feel safe right outside their homes. Some sections of the street were once described as opening the door to despair, as residents were forced to install additional iron bars after a series of break-ins. According to numerous local reports, residents' calls for help often end in a long wait. Some people say they reported to the police almost every day, but all they received in return were promises and closed cases. Meanwhile, law enforcement agencies are under immense pressure from a huge workload, causing minor cases to be put on the back burner. The general feeling among the people is one of helplessness. They feel they are living in a city with a police presence, but without real protection. What's noteworthy is that many policies implemented have fallen into controversy. Street cleaning campaigns sometimes only move temporary camps to another area, rather than addressing the root of the problem. Some new decrees have also been criticized for criminalizing homelessness, as police are given the power to dismantle tents instead of helping people find long-term housing. Observers call this a way of sweeping the dust under the rug, creating a temporary sense of cleanliness, but leaving the root cause increasingly serious. Some businesses have entered as supplementary solutions. Among these, community safety programs funded by major brands like Amazon stand out, aiming to test smart surveillance camera systems and technological solutions to support residents. Although there is still much debate, this could be one of the directions that helps fill the gap that the government has not been able to fully address. If even a top-tier American city still has areas where the police fear to tread, what is the ultimate limit of insecurity? And more importantly, will our children and grandchildren be able to grow up in a society where even the central streets are no longer considered safe? When discussing the root causes of San Francisco's descent into homelessness and urban chaos, one cannot overlook an age-old issue: the shortage of affordable housing. In a city where the tech industry has created hundreds of billions of dollars in wealth, the bitter irony is that tens of thousands of people still can't find affordable housing. In reality, rental prices in San Francisco have long been out of reach for the majority of residents. The average price for a one-bedroom apartment often exceeds the affordability of middle-income earners. Even two-income families have to spend a large portion of their monthly income just to pay rent. For blue-collar workers, teachers, nurses, or service employees, owning or maintaining decent housing is almost impossible. It was this disparity that created an ever-widening rift in urban society. high-income earners, especially those in the tech industry, can easily enter the real estate market. Meanwhile, tens of thousands of others were marginalized, forced to move far from the center or live in cramped, overcrowded spaces with inadequate living conditions. This stratification not only changes the population map, but also gives rise to feelings of injustice and distrust within the community. The problem isn't just high rental prices, but also a scarcity of supply. Affordable housing development projects often face numerous obstacles, from complex building regulations and high land costs to opposition from some residents who are concerned about property values being dragged down if low-income housing is built near them. The lengthy debates at the City Council have repeatedly highlighted the conflict between urgent social needs and local interests. In an effort to find solutions, some large organizations and businesses have begun to join this fight. For example, affordable housing initiatives that brands like Google have committed to funding are considered rare bright spots. The idea of mobilizing resources from the private sector, the corporations that benefit most from the city's development, could be an additional avenue to gradually fill the gaps that public policy hasn't kept up with. However, to succeed, close coordination is needed between the government, businesses, and the community. If one of America's richest and most creative cities still allows thousands of its residents to slide into homelessness, what will become of the American dream? And are we willing to accept living in a society where a roof, something that seems so ordinary, becomes a privilege reserved for the few? San Francisco was once considered a model for the prosperity of modern America, a hub of technological innovation, a popular tourist destination, and a symbol of the spirit of freedom. But beneath that glamorous facade, the city is facing growing economic cracks that are silently eroding it from within. The brightly lit streets at night are interspersed with rows of empty shops and vacant offices that have been unoccupied for months. Behind the billion-dollar tech billboards, thousands of residents are struggling with rent, medical bills, and an uncertain future. One of the clearest manifestations of the economic rift is the decline in trade. Many retail stores in the city center have been forced to close due to high operating costs and widespread theft. Some major brands that were once the cornerstones of shopping malls have now withdrawn, leaving empty spaces that have become symbols of the local economy's slowdown. Meanwhile, small independent shops are finding it increasingly difficult to survive. Revenue decreased, security costs increased, and coupled with pressure from taxes and living expenses, they no longer had the strength to sustain themselves. The office district, one a source of pride with its closely packed skyscrapers, now has a different look. Since the pandemic, the remote work model has led to a high vacancy rate in office spaces. This led to a decline in related services. Cafes, restaurants, and supermarkets around large buildings were empty, resulting in the loss of even more jobs. This ripple effect is pushing many service workers, who were already struggling, into a more precarious situation than ever before. In an effort to find new directions, some large corporations have participated with socio-economic initiatives. For example, Salesforce, one of the tech companies closely tied to the city, has implemented numerous community support programs and encouraged public-private partnerships in urban infrastructure redevelopment. This could be part of the solution, as the private sector contributes to filling the gaps that the government hasn't been able to fill yet. However, the big question remains: are individual efforts enough to change the overall trajectory of the city? San Francisco today is a fractured mirror, where the light of technology and extreme wealth shines upon the darkness of poverty, unemployment, and inequality. These economic cracks, if not addressed at their root, will continue to spread, devouring the city's soul. If one of America's wealthiest cities allows its residents to struggle in a cycle of insecurity, can the American dream still stand in the eyes of future generations? Or will it only be a fading memory? A city is only truly alive when people still want to be connected to it. But in San Francisco, more and more residents and businesses are choosing to leave, leaving behind a city that is empty and scarred. This great migration phenomenon is not merely a shift, but a profound warning that the city is losing its very soul. In the past decade, tens of thousands of residents have left San Francisco, partly due to the rising cost of living and partly due to the constant sense of insecurity on the streets. Families who have been rooted here for generations are now considering moving to other states where housing is cheaper and the living environment is less stressful. Some people say that in San Francisco, they pay too high a price for an increasingly lower quality of life. Not only residents, but even businesses, from retail to technology, are fleeing. Small shops are closing due to theft and unsustainable operating costs. Some major brands that once considered San Francisco a key market have been forced to retreat after a series of smash-and-grab incidents and millions of dollars in losses. Even long-standing supermarket chains couldn't survive, leading to many residential areas becoming food deserts, where even buying an essential item became difficult. However, there are still glimmers of hope. Some large corporations like Oracle have previously implemented public-private partnership projects to support infrastructure reconstruction and create additional local jobs. These kinds of initiatives, if expanded, could become part of the solution to keeping the city alive. The role of the private sector, especially brands with a long-standing connection to San Francisco, will be crucial in filling the gaps that public policy hasn't yet addressed. If a city that was once a hub of innovation and opportunity has become a place where both residents and businesses are simultaneously fleeing, what will be left to hold onto the soul of San Francisco? And more importantly, will the American dream still be attractive enough to keep the next generation? Or will it only become a golden memory left behind? San Francisco today is not just the story of a single city. It is a mirror reflecting the widening social cracks across America, from soaring housing prices and economic inequality to the breakdown of community trust. When the streets that once shone brightly are filled with tents, when technology towers stand tall but at their feet are lost people, the biggest question remains: what have we sacrificed to get to this point? If a city that was once a symbol of freedom and opportunity becomes a wasteland, what will be left for our future generations? And if the American dream can be shaken right in the heart of prosperity like San Francisco, can it still support the rest of the country? If you've witnessed similar things where you live, or have memories associated with San Francisco, please share your story in the comments section. It is the voice of each individual that will create a more honest picture of America today. Don't forget to like and share this video to spread the story to more people, and subscribe to the channel so you don't miss the next exploration journeys, where we'll look directly at the dark corners of society and ask unanswered questions together. The content in this video is intended for informational purposes and analysis based on public data, media reports, and reputable sources. Some details may be presented in a summarized, comparative, or generalized form, and are not absolutely definitive. The video is not intended to offend, criticize any individual, organization, or government, nor does it encourage any negative behavior. Viewers are encouraged to learn more from various sources to gain a more comprehensive perspective.